All right, so we're going to pick it back up with number 8. So let's look at number 8. Oh, look at that. 30 NBA teams. Would have helped to read this one first. Okay. Each team has 12 players. A sample of 60 players is to be chosen as follows. Each team is going to be asked to place 12 cards with its players' names into a hat and randomly draw out names. The 2 names from each team will be combined to make up the sample. So 2 from the Rockets, 2 from the Bulls, 2 from the Kings, things like that. All right. So in my mind, right, when I'm visualizing this, I see 30 different hats. Can you guys visualize 30 different hats?
Yes.
And in each hat, you've got the 12 names of the people on the team. All right. So they go to the first hat. How many do they take out of the first hat?
Joe's.
2. Second hat?
Joe's.
See where I'm going with this? Do you guys remember what we call it when you do a little bit from each one? It's stratified. Cluster would be, can I give you an example of how this would be clustered, Ariel? Cluster would be, all right, they want how many? 30? So I'm going to go to randomly pick 15. Right? Oh, actually, you know what? 30, be a little tougher, but I can kind of do this. I'll do 3 hats. All right, you would randomly pick 3 hats and take all of the players from those hats. So cluster is where you take a group and you look at every single whatever from that group. All right, that would be cluster. If you take a little bit from each one, that's stratified. Remember the buffet analogy, right? Buffet analogy is stratified. A little bit from each thing, that's stratified. Okay, number 9. To survey the opinions of Bleacher fans at Wrigley Field, a surveyor plans to select every 100th fan that enters the bleachers on one of the game days. What type of sampling is this? Every 100th person.
Systematic.
It is systematic. Very good. All right, which of the following is true about sampling error? I try my best during the school year to help you guys with this. All right, what is another word that I've used for sampling error? Do you guys remember the other way I've said sampling? Starts with a V.
Variance.
Close.
Variability.
Variability. The reason I like to use this word interchangeably with sampling error is because I don't want you to think that even though it says the word error, that it is somehow a negative or bad thing, right? Sampling error, sampling variability, they're the same thing. It's actually a good thing, right? It allows us to actually study this stuff and basically make a course called statistics because of this sampling error. So when I look at this, I can't actually eliminate it. I don't want to eliminate it. That's actually part of the fun. Kind of feel good about B. No, I can't really say that it's generally larger when the sample size is larger. Usually, if I were to make a statement about that, I would say the larger the sample size, the less variability you'll see. Again, this is what I was trying to get you to away from with D, right? Is that we, like, somehow it's a bad thing. I've never really heard E. If bias is present, you shouldn't be looking at anything, right? If you know that there's biases going on and you can pinpoint them, you should definitely throw it out. Yeah.
If bias is present, would it actually be the opposite? Because like sampling is variability, so we must.
Probably right. Yeah. That's probably what they're going for. The only time I've ever heard on the AP exam dealing with bias is like saying, like, if you notice there's bias, what should you do? And you should just start over. Yeah. But you really can't. Once you see it, it's gone. It's over. All right, number 11. What fault do all of these sampling designs have in common? You got the Wall Street Journal plans to make a prediction for a presidential election based on a survey of its readers. Radio talk show asks people to phone in their views on whether the U.S. should pay off its debt to the United Nations. A police detective interested in determining the extent of drug use by teenagers randomly picks a sample of high school students and interviews each one about any illegal drug use by that person, that student, during the past year. Okay, can you guys pinpoint any issues with any of these?
The person who's answering.
Which one are you doing?
All
of them, okay.
The person who's answering, their opinion is very biased.
Okay, can you expand maybe for one of them?
So, with the drug use one, of course you're gonna say no. It's like why would you rat yourself out?
I completely agree, right? If I know you're a police detective and you're asking me, have I done illegal drugs? And I mean, like, no, I haven't, right? I mean, like, what? So probably not going to tell the truth. Many people would not tell the truth in that scenario. What about the first one? Any issues with making a prediction based on a survey of the readers of the Wall Street Journal? Do you know who reads the Wall? Do you read the Wall Street Journal? I don't read the Wall Street Journal. Who do you think reads the Wall Street Journal?
A select group of people.
Okay, and do you know anything potentially about that select group of people?
They would
Let me
be biased.
let me see this. Let me say this. Do you think that a sample of those people that read the Wall Street Journal is representative of the people who are going to vote for the next president? No, right? No, we all agree with that. 2, does it say anything about the radio talk show? No, but if you know anything about radio talk shows, kind of similar to the first one, the people that are going to be listening to this talk show, are they going to be a fair representation of the population?
Volunteer
No.
bias.
And for sure, yeah. Who's calling? People that care a lot. I don't care. I won't be calling. Okay, so I think B.
I agree with B.
Excellent. All right, let's do 12. A researcher planning a survey of heads of households in a particular state has census lists for each of the 23 counties in that state. Do you guys remember the word census? There's like a list of everyone, like a census of this school would be every student that attends the school. Okay. The procedure will be to obtain a random sample of heads of households from each of the counties rather than grouping all the census lists together and obtaining a sample from the entire group. So if they're getting heads of households from each one, yes, remember this? Each one, a little bit from each. What does it mean for a little bit from each? Nice. Now, again, if we want to go back to what Ariel said about cluster for this would be there's 23 lists. I randomly pick 2, and I'm going to pull every single person from those 2 lists. That would be cluster sampling. Okay? All right. Conducting a survey of long-distance calling patterns, a researcher researching, man, my typing is bad today, opens a telephone book to a random page, closes his eyes, puts his finger down on the page, and then reads off the next 50 names. What type of method is this? No, they're not like doing like groups here. Not C or B. Yeah, I was hoping you guys would say convenience. I thought maybe people would say SRS, but SRS needs to be like it would be. You've got all of the names, and you randomly pick however many names. Just closing your eyes and pointing is not random. Yes.
Is it not cluster because he's choosing like one group instead of like several groups?
Well, it's kind of like the beginning of a systematic a little bit because if they were randomly to pick 60, like the number 60, and then did the next 50 after that, that would be systematic. Cluster would need to be, they'd have to have groups. There's no grouping going on. It's just a one phone book. 14. A researcher plans a study to examine the depth of belief in God among the adult population. He obtains a simple random sample, so that's SRS, of 100 adults as they leave the church one Sunday morning. All but one of them agree to participate in the survey. Which of the following is true? So they're doing this as they leave church, right? And they're asking about the depth of belief in God among the adult population. Well, I think we'd probably all agree that if you're polling people after church, they're more likely to say what about their belief in God? That they believe in God, right? Most likely. I'm not saying everybody. So I'm thinking C, right? Again, this sample is not a good representation of all adults. All right, you guys ready for the last one?
Yes, sir.
All right. You take a moment and read it and check in with everybody out here, make sure they're doing okay with the. You okay, Victor? Right. Anyone want to offer an answer? Which one? A is cluster. I agree. Key phrase in there says they're going to go to a random sample of 25 city blocks and go to every single family living on those blocks. That's cluster. What about B? Stratified. You're right. It's a little bit of each of the 5 natural neighborhoods. All right. That is it, guys.